Welcome to StopFake, the place where we uncover disinformation about Ukraine and set the record straight. I'm Mark Rachkevych, an editor with the Kyiv Post, and I'm happy to present this week's edition. Among the fakes this week we present are: Azov battalion continues to threaten the Netherlands, EU countries massively deny visas to Ukrainians, Zaporizhzhia City Council rejects use of Ukrainian, and Russian media is scaring Moldova with fake restitution claims. Compelling stuff, so let's get to it. Another sinister video has appeared on a YouTube channel which purports to be the work of Ukraine's controversial Azov battalion. Last month, a video appeared in Russian media in which masked men in camouflage, purporting to be Azov members, were threatening to exact retribution if the Dutch people voted no in the scheduled April referendum about whether the Dutch government should support the European Union-Ukraine Association Agreement. The real Azov battalion immediately posted a rebuttal calling the threats against the Netherlands a fake. Now, a YouTube channel has cropped up calling itself Azov Volunteer People's Battalion, with a new video in which men dressed in camouflage uniforms, their faces hidden by balaklavas and clutching machine guns, tread on a large Dutch flag as a voice claims that the first video threatening the Netherlands is genuine. There is no other video on this recently registered YouTube channel. Responding to StopFake's inquiry, Azov member Stanislav Krasnov said the latest video was a very cheap fake and there's no sense in commenting on it. The real Azov battalion posted a video demonstrating how easy it is to create a fake in less than 20 minutes. All you need is 5 to 6 men in identical or similar uniforms, some guns, a flag, and you're good to go, says an Azov fighter as he presents masked men pretending to be Novorossiya fighters, complaining about not being paid in months. If you don't pay us, we'll ditch this fight and go back and pick strawberries in Poland, says one of them. The newspaper Vesti published a story with this misleading headline: Ukrainians en masse rush for visas. Such hopelessness not seen even in the 1990s. The author, Alexandra Harchenko, writes that Ukrainians are desperately applying for Schengen visas, but instead are increasingly being denied. Despite Ukraine-EU cooperation deepening and a visa-free regime becoming an ever closer reality, applying for EU visas will be more complicated with embassies demanding even more documents, claims Harchenko. According to visa centers and European consulates, the number of visa denials for Ukrainians has not increased. However, the number of long-term visas issued has grown. In 2013, only 39% of the visas issued to Ukrainian citizens were long-term visas, whereas in 2014, 1.36 million Ukrainians were granted EU visas. 53% of those were multi-entry long-term visas. Responding to StopFake's inquiry, EU Commission spokesman David Stulik set the record straight. While 2015 visa figures are still being tabulated, the number for previous years don't show any significant increase in visa denials, which remain at an average of 2%. There was a slight decrease in Schengen visas issued to Ukrainians in 2014. Stulik explains this as the result of the April 2014 visa facilitation agreement, which allowed more Ukrainians to receive long-term multi-entry visas, making frequent reapplication from regular travelers unnecessary. You can see a more detailed breakdown of EU visas issued on our website. Zaporizhzhia city government has opted to abandon using Ukrainian on its official internet page, reported the website Holos Pravda, because practically all local media are in Russian. Therefore, it would be awkward for journalists to have to translate information from Ukrainian. The source for this fake story is Irina Yarko, a local activist who is campaigning for wider use of Ukrainian in Zaporizhzhia city government business. In a Facebook post, Yarko writes that she received a letter from the Zaporizhzhia Press and Information Office explaining that while the news section of the city's website is currently only in Russian, a new Ukrainian-Russian site will be launched soon. In the letter, written in Ukrainian, the Press and Information Office Director, Mr. Prostakov, assures Yarko that all official city government information is only in Ukrainian. There is no mention of any rejection of the use of Ukrainian in official Zaporizhzhia city business. Pro-Russian media in Moldova are spreading news of an imminent restitution of land and property by Poland and Romania. Ukrainians and Moldovans should prepare to return that which prior to World War II belonged to Poles and Romanians. According to these fake reports, the association agreements that Ukraine and Moldova signed with the European Union in 2014 calls for such restitution. The Russian site Eurasia Rhythm raised the issue of restitution last month, focusing solely on Ukraine. According to the article, pursuant to the EU Association Agreement, Kyiv was warned that Ukraine must abide by all EU legal norms, including the demand for restitution. Pro-Russian Moldova sites quickly picked up the story, substituting Moldova for Ukraine and Romania for Poland. Russian sites began scaring Ukrainians with restitution of land and property well before Ukraine signed the EU Association Agreement. StopFake wrote about these fakes in detail in 2014. This topic surfaced again in 2015 after a pro-Russian Polish NGO published stories claiming that after signing the EU Association Agreement, Ukraine must return property formerly owned by Poles. The Association Agreement makes no mention of restitution. This issue is beyond the scope of EU competence. Restitution is possible only after both countries involved enact necessary legislation and determine the scope of restitution. Restitution of land and property is not part of the association agreements the EU signed with Moldova and Ukraine. According to the Moldovan Center for Independent Journalism, in 1992, Moldova enacted a restitution law. However, this law only applies to Moldovans who were subjected to political repression and whose assets were confiscated under communist rule. Well, that's it for this week. You can always find fresh fakes straight on the StopFake website. Be vigilant, beware of fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, please forward it to us for a truth autopsy. We'll see you next week. I'm Mark Rachkevych, and this is StopFake.